So yeah, today is February 8th, 2018. So it was last week. So Bezos, Buffett, and Diamond, they linking up um, on behalf of Amazon and Berkshire Hathaway and Chase respectively, and they supposed to be coming together. They're being disruptive. They're coming together to come up with some healthcare uh, solutions for their respective employees, and I think they got a pretty good chance of coming up with some really good stuff. I think you know Bezos, Amazon, they know customer service. They know what people want and how to appeal to people. You know, Berkshire Hathaway, Buffett, and them, they know insurance. They know numbers. They know how to best manage and deal with a lot of risks in a lot of situations. And of course, Diamond and Chase, of course, they know numbers. So it's it got some real potential, man. It could be, kind of akin to like LeBron, kind of like LeBron, Wade, and Bosh linking up in Miami. It could be a championship in there. They might come up with some stuff that, especially they're gonna come up with some, you know, innovation. They're gonna implement some really good innovation, and it might just, spread out into the general population beyond just their employees. But it's got some real potential there, and you know, the market needs a shakeup. So we'll see. It's some really good potential there, and it's gonna be exciting if nothing else. So we've got all of these super awesome, incredible developments help happening through healthcare, right? So much so that healthcare itself is evolving. Everything is always evolving. But is really evolving into the era of what we're calling personalized precision medicine, right? Um, and among those developments are and major breakthroughs is pharmacogenetics. And basically, pharmacogenetics is using the information and knowledge base that we've gleaned from decoding the Human Genome Project. And now this is why you can get your ancestry and DNA profiles for like a couple $100 now. Back before then, that would have been considerably more, right? But now, it's a very reasonable price, especially considering the benefits that you could reap, as it applies to your health, right? So, pharmacogenetics, the basics of what it is making sure that your prescriptions, your medications align to your personal genetic makeup, right? All medicines are not for everybody. You know, all medicines are not created equal. You're an individual, and that's what is personalized and precision about it. It's exactly for you. And it's very important. Um, it's very important for diseases like cancer, right? Where we're becoming more and more, we're evolving more and more to the frame of, okay, you don't just have cancer, okay? You don't just have lung cancer, right? You have particular sets of genetic mutations, and they're going to affect your system in certain ways depending on your particular genetics, environmental factors, nutrition habits, you know, lifestyle, so forth and so on, right? And so we have to be able to account for these things in order to ensure that patients receive the best and most appropriate care possible. Okay. And these systems are being set up. People all over are working and contributing to the process, and that's a really good thing. Um, and so, in order to really understand what personalized medicine is, the root of it, there's a lot going on. a lot in it. But as far as pharmacogenetics itself, and that's probably one of the more important pillars of the precision personalized medicine. And that is all predicated on having a lot of very personal and sensitive information about people, right? It's big data, and it's establishing big databases. It's big data and building big databases, right? And when you say big data, talking about like really big data, like info on everything, right? You know, you go in nowadays, you got on-site computers in the basement, computers in the bottom basements, hospitals, clinics, just everywhere, right? And as large as those systems are, that you might find at your local facility, it's way more up in the clouds, right? So this and that information helps us a lot. We need that information in order. That's why you have to go. That's why it takes the better part of a decade to be a doctor, right? You want to be an MD, it takes about a decade. Why? Because you just never know. Up until now, basically what you're doing is guessing. That's why you have to make. That's why you're in school so long. You have to make really, really educated guesses. But at the end of the day, it's just still a guess. You know, that's why. So the guesses you make, because people's lives are on the line, the guesses you make have to be really, really, really educated guesses. But at the end of the day, they're ultimately still guesses, right? And having all the kind of spectrum of information that we have now is going to allow physicians to make much more detailed and specified, courses of treatment for individual patients, right? So this information is very, very sensitive. It's very, very personal. And it has to be stored and secured properly. That's one of the primary, technical hurdles that we have to overcome. It's a lot of very personal and sensitive information. Has to be stored and secured properly. But it has to be accessible enough so that all your medical professionals can rather quickly and efficiently, measure their prescribed courses of treatment for you against the metrics of your personal profile. Okay? All right. And we live in an era where, like this video right here, everything is recorded, everything is tracked, And in fitness trackers, are one thing. You got fitness trackers that, whatever, double as watches or whatever, that's one thing. But how much of your personal medical information are you willing to fork over, especially when that data is going to be very tough in order to secure? Very tough, to secure. I mean, you in 2018, you just never know. You go to Target, you get a t-shirt, a loaf of bread, and some Skittles, and a few months later you find out their system been hacked, and now you're at risk for identity fraud, right? And then you turn around and Equifax, who is supposed to be the plug on credit monitoring and assuring the legitimacy of all that information, they system full of holes and not being properly protected. So having these systems set up and integrated, and to the degree that they are, that's wonderful. But you have to be able to secure those systems. They're very large, very complex systems. Because, what's really to stop somebody, what's really going to stop a hacker who wants to plug in from the other side of the planet and hack into your pacemaker and stop it or alter its functionality? You know what I'm saying? Honestly, not much. Not much. If that's really what they got on their mind. So it's a lot of things to consider. And the problems, and there's a lot of technical problems as far as how you manage that information. Again, you know, you're an MD, not a computer scientist. You know, you don't want to make it so complex and have it where there's so many hoops you got to go through that, you know, the people who are going to use it the most are going to be, you know, disinclined to use the system. So it still has to be accessible. So there's a lot of technical problems, you know, but that's only just one side of it. So establishing these systems and these databases are a good thing, you know. But on the other side, you know, if we really want to maximize the benefits that we can gain from establishing these systems and these databases, we're gonna have to cross a few Rubicons in the landscape of the social realm that we've not previously crossed, right? You know, we need big data, but where does big data come from? You know, essentially, constant monitoring, tracking, surveillance, and it's becoming increasingly easy to monitor each and every aspect of an individual's life, right? But is that what people really want? You know, are the gains that we make on the healthcare side of the equation enough to offset, you know, what you got to give up in terms of privacy? Maybe privacy isn't, you know, even going to be framed in its traditional context, as you know, as we're accustomed to it. Maybe, you know, that's just becoming less and less of a thing. You know. Also, um, you know, in the American, especially given the American healthcare system, you know, it's a lack of personal trust and honestly, a lack of just general professional competence, you know, in the medical field to a large degree, and that's a very very real problem. You know, when you have, and it's kind of it's a big deal in healthcare, although it's almost in every other aspect, especially American life, where somebody comes out and says, "Well, things are this way," but even though you might have been doing this for 40 years, you know, there's such a lack of trust and of, you know, social goodwill that even the best laid plans, you might actually need to get vaccinated for something. It might actually be a condition that, you know, is a real legit public health situation. You're not going to convince people, you know, that they need to be vaccinated when, you know, doctors, you know, really don't have that glowing a position. You have a good job, but honestly, especially down here, your favorable ratings aren't that high. If you think about it in terms of like being a politician, they would tell you, yeah, your favorability ratings are not that high, you know, in that profession, and that's a really really sad thing, and but it's very understandable. Um, was listening to On Point. Well, I listen to On Point, and they did a show. Um, we had a tuberculosis outbreak down here in Alabama last year, and Ashbrook was like, you know, it's a very real thing, but you know how people down here are considered backwards in Alabama anyway. And it's like, you know, when outbreaks like this happen, it's a very real thing. You know, people need to be, you know, take proper medical steps. Well, first off, you know, a lot of people down here don't even have, you know, health care, as a lot of Americans don't. That's, you know, it's a big deal right now. For all the innovations going on, you know, it's one of the main things that's holding up progress right now in America. You see the dysfunction, and nothing else can happen in Washington. They trying to get the healthcare situation figured out, and it's a lot going on. But he asked, what, basically, what's up with Alabama? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, doctors don't have that much credibility down here. Doctors are not honestly viewed too favorably. And especially when you have context of the situation, like you recognize, like, things like making kind of, bullet kind of, making kind of baby. You know what I'm saying? When you take into things into account, periods of American history like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. So that kind of sort of shoots the whole, you know, we're good guys, we fought the Nazis, kind of shoots that whole theory to pieces. But when you got stuff like that happening, but you're supposed to be a doctor, but you don't really have that much social credibility, society, and it's not warranted because you gotta understand out here, man. Doctors have become, some of the most dangerous and prolific drug dealers in America. You know what I'm saying? On the entire planet. It's not Pablo, or it's not the Sinaloa cartel, or whoever the next up, gonna be smuggling something across the border is, nah, doctors are some of the biggest drug dealers out here, man. And honestly, it's not all their fault. You know, people, a lot of doctors move around. You know, you don't really get to know patients. A lot of doctors, they're not lifetime residents of where they might be currently practicing, especially like down here where I am in rural Alabama. Somebody might come in, work at a local facility, a few years, but that's and even with the gain, all the gains we're making in information and collecting information and database building, what they're forecasting is among one of the few jobs that we got a good idea that's going to develop in the coming decades are going to be essentially professional people. You know what I'm saying? You need people who understand people, and it's very helpful when you have spent extended amounts of time. Maybe you grew up someplace, but it's hard to have that trust and that connection with that community when, yeah, the community might need a doctor, but the doctor that you bring in needs to understand the demographics and the people that they're dealing with. It's not just enough to say, you got condition X. I'm write you this and here you go. You got to understand the condition of why they got condition X. They might have gout, but you got to understand that, okay, well, that's probably going to flare up because down here it's a tradition to eat such and such on such and such holiday. And so that's one of the things where having that real community relationship and that understanding with the people, is going to be essential moving forward to really, help get healthcare where it needs to be. Trust all across the board first must, be rebuilt before we can truly start benefiting and maximizing the potential from these technological innovations. You see the whole U.S. Olympic gymnastics situation. That's blessings to everybody in that situation. That's unfolding. And so that's what I'm saying. That's a lot of things going on. It's a pretty, it's a pretty privileged position. You get the part close to the building. People do respect you as, well, you can't be a complete and total idiot. You're an MD. You can't just be, a total idiot. But there's a lot that goes with that, man. Not to go all Stanley, but it's some power and responsibility, balance you got to work out, man. So as hopeful as I am that these innovations can, on the order of the whole, be a benefit to humanity, it's a lot of work, But hopefully that's what I'm trying to do with these videos. because, again, the technical stuff, we got that all that. That's nothing. The actual solving of cancer, nothing. 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 You know what I'm saying? Along with every other technical problem. Fixing that is nothing. It's getting to the point where socially people are on the same page to where we can actually implement some of these technologies. So that's gonna be, we're gonna wrap up the healthcare section for right now. Um, but again, it's a boatload more to come. So blessings, word blessings to everybody, man. Healing, health, happiness, all the good stuff, man. Blessings, one and all, everybody. Whole entire planet, whole entire universe. Blessings.